you get to a point in your office where there's just stuff everywhere. This office is only like 4x3, and the amount of stuff I have in here, it's like that animal in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, where it grows from the size of a teacup to fill a complete room. I feel like that. G'day, how are we doing? So a couple of weeks ago, I did a video about a brand I did some work on called Hey Carl, and that showed a kind of end-to-end process of what that experience is like of creating the thing, presenting the thing, delivering the thing. But I thought I'd cover this week for this vlog what the jumping off point is in terms of where do you start looking, where do I start thinking about things, what do I prioritize in terms of bringing things together in terms of ideas before I start making them. So let's explore this. There is just stuff everywhere. Okay, this week a new project to do, and it's a real estate agent that needs to really bring themselves up to snuff to be able to compete with others in their market here in Australia. Now, for context, I can't show you what this brand is. I can't tell you what the name is because it's still a work in progress. I still haven't fully committed to even what I'm going to produce here for them. But this should give you at least the psyche behind and the decision making behind what it is I do as that first jumping off point. And the first point of call for us was looking at, a lot of different aspects of what they wanted to achieve. And they've given us some references of what they would like to be as a brand and what they want to look like especially. But we said, look, in terms of how we'd approach this, the thing that we could identify quickly is that we could look at your name first and then kind of go from there. So earlier this week, we had a call with them. We presented 4 different names, and each of those was a one-word name. So their existing name had 3 words in it, which we found that was just a little bit too much, bit of a mouth jumble to say, especially when you're answering the phone. It's a long web address as a result, all these different things that we could come into the fold here, help them do better branding by making things much cleaner, much simpler, and just lean into one word. So we presented 4 words. They didn't like the 3 that were new words. They wanted to stick with the word that was in their current name. And so we just simplified it down to that one word and also put a location to it because they are a real estate agent. It might help with SEO of where they're based. So one word with their location, say beneath it, and that can be applicable for a logo. So now that we have the name locked in and they've been able to register, it's a very quick process here in Australia. You can go on a website, pay the money, put in the business name, and away we go. Now, the things that we need to deliver on here aren't messaging, but we might create one message that fits with their name so that at least they have kind of something, and I have something to work with when producing an end result here. But we're focused more on the visual identity side of things. So right now at this starting point of the visual identity, I'm left with a blank canvas to kind of work with. And I say blank because obviously it's nothing there, but it's for me now to bring together all the different pieces of what their name means, what kind of colors that they have said that they like to see and be comfortable with, and I think would stand out amongst their competition. Because looking at the real estate market here in Australia, the leading national brands that are franchises and things, there's a few that use yellow, there's a lot that use red as well. There's an orange, there's a green, and there's a blue. So we've kind of got something in between there to work with, which is probably going to be like a tealy aquamarine. And keep in mind that these guys are near the coast of Australia. So this is what we're going to, I think, pursue here some more. So that's the next step, is I think probably just locking down the color. And the way I'm going to do it, I think, is with one of these bad boys. This is a Pantone color swatch book. They're called Color Bridge. And the reason why I bought this one particularly is that it has both the Pantone swatch, so a specific Pantone color on a coated. I also have uncoated, which is just a different paper type. So this is uncoated paper and this is more coated paper. So you see what the color could be when it does get printed with Pantone. But on the right side, it shows what the CMYK color version would look like. So if my clients don't use Pantone colors, which I don't think they probably will, I know what the CMYK color will probably look like when they print their signboards for sale or for lease signs, flags, open home, kind of A-frame billboards for an open home inspection, stationery, all these kind of things. So what I'm going to do is just look through this kind of range of color, some kind of anywhere between blues and teals. Somewhere probably in the middle here, like a kind of aquamarine type of color might be the go here that they've kind of suggested is something that they'd like to see. So let's start there, yeah? So I think I'm going to go with these two colors here, 7474 and 7712. Let's see what they look like on the computer though. So what I'm going to do is open the swatches panel and go to color books, and for my coated color bridge, here we go. And then all we need to do here is just type in 7474, and then we've got that color there. And let's make a little boxy poo. So we're working in CMYK color first because it translates better to RGB for digital use so that we have some consistency. So that's why I always start with a CMYK artboard, which I know a lot of designers don't do now, which is just blowing my mind. Even if they are a digital first, or they say they're a digital only brand, there's probably going to come a time where you might have an in-person meeting or an event or something like that where your brand needs to show up physically, and then you got brand colors that just don't translate well for print. For a small business that you're working with, why make it harder for them? Yeah. So that's our first color, 7474. Let's just write that one down, 7474C. C for coated. And then let's make another one here. And the other color was 7712. Okay, slightly bit lighter. So on screen, they look okay. I think they'd be bold enough for them to work with. I think there'd be enough contrast for white to be going over the top of it so it does stand out. So if we put brand just there and put white on top of it, yeah, that's a huge amount of contrast, which is good. Might even see if there's a lighter version of this. So if we click on this one and we get rid of that and see what other color can work. Yeah, that's a bit lighter. So that could work. That is, so that's 7710 is 2 steps up from 7712 in terms of the CMYK value. So that looks much brighter here, but doesn't look as vibrant there, but does look more like the Pantone color, obviously. I'm kind of leaning towards this 7710 because this seems to pop a lot more. I think could work nicely. And they could still have shades of a bit darker, so we could have a bit of contrast, or even these two colors. Let's say that'd be a nice bit of contrast between 7474 and 7710. That could be nice. All right, I think we're going to go with those. Quick decision making, easy, simple, fast. Press on. Don't stick around at this stage too long is my kind of ethos. Just keep trying, keep testing, put it into practice, and let's go from there. So you'll see there I've added an extra color, just that kind of very eggshell blue kind of color, just to have that contrast between the main central color. The interesting thing when I've pulled up the CMYK conversion colors from the Pantone PMS colors is you can see that the CMYK looks slightly different, especially on screen, than what it's going to look like when printed. But that's why you have these Pantone books, so you know what these colors are going to look like, because they do vary from what you see on screen. So this is why it's a good idea to start with something like this. So if you do get a Pantone book, a good one would be to get the Pantone bridge coated, or there's other variations of not just Pantone, there's other ones out there that are a fair bit cheaper, which would be a good start to see it on paper. So I'm just going to use Illustrator to convert the CMYK color, CMYK, the CMYK color to RGB. because it just looks good on screen there. It converts well when I switch between CMYK artboards and into the RGB artboard. So I know when the team I'm working with does the website, we do the socials, we do other digital touch points, it's going to look as good as it does when I see it in these printed formats. So this is how we choose color. So the next thing is fonts. And now fonts aren't something I try and overcomplicate too much, especially with a smaller business client that can't afford to have custom typography. So I'm not going to go get a lettering artist to do this. It's not in my wheelhouse to do it. I'm not going to find fonts that costs a crazy bomb to invest in. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just probably going to go to Google Fonts, find something that looks clean and modern like they want. This is the kind of style that they want. They just want a clean, simple brand that stands out. Is that too much to ask? It doesn't need to have a huge amount of personality. You can bring out the personality in other ways if it's your message, if it's the personalities, the people in their team, if it's their imagery, their photography, their videography, all these things that can exude personality other than being baked into font. So we want something that is clean, that is professional, that gives a vendor, which is the person that wants to sell their house or have somebody like this client help them manage their property for renters to come in. They want to have peace of mind that these people look and sound and know what they are talking about. So this is where I'm choosing a font that's just clean, simple, easy to use, works for headings, works for the logo, works for body copy, works for the website, works for print. It's legible. All these things I'm taking into account. And there's usually a handful of these fonts on Google Fonts because they're free to commercially use, that are kind of like a go-to. If it's Poppins, DM Sans, Montserrat, all those kind of classic ones that everyone chooses. But it's to get the job done. It's to get it out the door so that at least it will bring them up 10 pegs from maybe where they are already. So that's the process here. So I'm looking at 5 different fonts here: Quicksand, Outfit, Fig Tree, Questrial, and Urbanist. Now they all look pretty similar when you flick through them. But the next step is to download these fonts and then put them into some hierarchy and see how they look for just some general typography. And then I'll probably look at what the logo is. So let's do the typography part first, especially with a hierarchy of color now that we have those colors to work with. Out of the 4 of them, I think Outfit is the go here. I don't know, it just seems stronger for this brand to have a bit of impact so it can stand out. Just in the letter shapes, feels like it has some strength behind it. I think it could give it a nice feel. So the steps from here will pretty much be to make a logo. I'll use Outfit as the base of it. We might create a bit of a shape from the word mark that fits within this theme that they have, based on the word of this brand. Again, I'm sorry I can't share this with you, but the idea will be to create the logo, put it up against the typography here, and then look at maybe some message as well. That way I can then put it into some mock-ups. So all these different touch points where this can all come together for this real estate agent to really shine in their market, especially in a competitive market, given the location where they're based. Again, I wish I could tell you all this. So I'm sorry if that didn't really give you a huge amount to go off. It's something that as best I can do for a week to show you what I'm doing, what I'm up to. There are some other client jobs I've got going on, another bigger branding project I just started yesterday with a brand workshop, and then there's some other bits and pieces of brand management, especially for the coconut water guys. And this is the life of a designer, a brander, somewhat of a marketer, especially trying to make this content live on and breathe on. But thank you for watching. Give this video a like, subscribe if you like what I got going on here, and I will see you in the next one because it's time to get back to work. Bye.
Do better branding.